He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy. Welcome back. Yes, like I said in my last video, I had some stuff I had to take care of, and this is what it was. I moved. Yeah. So, I did watch WrestleMania this past weekend, and I did watch the Raw afterwards. So, I want to discuss that. And this is probably going to be my last wrestling video for a while. I usually take a break after WrestleMania, so let's do this. First of all, I didn't watch the pre-show, so I can't comment on it. Sorry. But here's what I did see. I did see the WrestleMania, and I saw the Raw the night after. So first off, the ladder match was a great way to start out the pay-per-view. It was a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of highlights, and it was something that was a lot of fun and a great way to start the pay-per-view. And it was, the ending was came out of nowhere. I thought that the WWE would go the safe route, I guess you want to call it, with having Sami Zayn win the title from Kevin Owens. But then Sami Zayn got knocked off the ladder by The Miz, and I thought, oh, great, The Miz is going to win it. And he's being all arrogant, being the great character that he is. And right as he's savoring the moment about to take the title, he gets pushed off, and it's freaking Zack Ryder. I remember when I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? Holy crap. Zack Ryder is the new Intercontinental Champion? That was nuts. And I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming, and it was actually a nice surprise. I was pleasantly surprised by that, and the crowd seemed to enjoy it too. They were chanting for Zack Ryder as he won the title, doing the woo woo woo, you know it. Unfortunately, as you saw the next night on Raw, his title reign was short-lived. He only had the title for 24 hours before he dropped it to The Miz. And a lot of people may be upset about that. They may think that they're burying Zack Ryder win. But here's the thing. The WWE Intercontinental Championship now has a storyline to go with the title, which sometimes it doesn't have that. So when you have that sort of thing, a good storyline and I guess a challenger who the crowd really wants to see become that IC champion, it really helps. So something that's been missing in a way from the IC title picture, and I'm glad they're doing that sort of story now with Zack Ryder. Hopefully he does win the title, maybe at Payback, which is the next pay-per-view, which, by the way, I like the fact it's Payback after WrestleMania. It makes sense when you think about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Ryder and Miz. Now that they've brought Maryse back, I'm glad to see Maryse. I was always a fan of Maryse. She was fun to watch. Good wrestler and hot. So, all good with me. And I like to see what sort of chemistry she has with her husband, The Miz. Yeah. Next was the AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho match. Now, this match was good, but it kind of had difficulty following a really good ladder match that had a surprise ending. This one kind of had a surprise ending too. You know, I'm willing to bet a lot of people went into this thing that AJ Styles was going to win because everybody kept on saying, oh, Chris Jericho only loses at pay-per-views. But no, Chris Jericho won the match, and here comes the complaining. AJ Styles got buried, win. I'll talk about AJ Styles a little bit later, but what's interesting is the next night on Raw was Chris Jericho actually said that he buried AJ Styles, kind of throwing the internet complaint just right back in their faces. I thought it was kind of cool. There was some really cool counters between Jericho and AJ Styles. They have good chemistry together. But I am glad the rivalry is over because it's good to see AJ Styles move on to something else, which I'll talk about later. Now, third match, League of Nations versus the New Day. Unfortunately, the best part of this was the entrance. New Day came out in the Booty-O's cereal box. It was kind of funny. They made jokes about that, and just to see it there at WrestleMania was kind of a trip. And then they came out wearing Saiyan armor. I know the hardcore DVC fan boys are probably saying, well, actually, that's actually Frieza's army's armor, not the Saiyan armor. Yeah, but when you first see it, it's Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa. So it's the Saiyan armor. Not to mention Vegeta wears a type of that sort of armor throughout the entire series, almost, of Dragon Ball Z, and he's wearing it again in Dragon Ball Super. So that's the top friend of the day. So again, it was an okay match, but it couldn't follow the previous two matches. And then you had Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and Shawn Michaels come in afterwards. It felt unnecessary. Kind of like later on when you had The Rock come out just to basically tell the attendance of the WrestleMania 101,000 people. Cool, but didn't need The Rock for that. No, I don't know. Next up was a match I know a lot of people on the internet were saying was going to be the match of the night. That match is going to be great. Was Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar. Quite honestly, it was just a Lesnar match. It was just Dean acting like a maniac, acting crazy, while Lesnar beat the crap out of him. There was... Here's the thing. Dean Ambrose is not as good as everybody says he is. I mean, he acted like the suplexes didn't even hurt at one point. He was doing the double thumbs up as if he didn't even hurt. And not to mention, there was no point where it seemed like Dean Ambrose could have actually beaten Brock Lesnar. There just wasn't. I mean, with Reigns it worked. With The Undertaker it worked because they were believable at some point that they could actually beat Lesnar. Whereas Dean Ambrose, no. Not even in a street fight. Not even in a street fight. And it's interesting that this is the match that a lot of the people online are saying, it's going to be a match of the night. This is going to be the one that stays WrestleMania. And it ended up being one of the weakest ones in the night, to be perfectly honest. It certainly could have matched the women's match. Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch. That was an awesome match. That might have been match of the night, to be honest. And I like the fact that the announcers and the ring introductions, the whole thing, really gave a sense that they're taking the women's title seriously. It's now the WWE Women's Championship. And I like the design on the Women's Championship because some people may say, oh, it's just a carbon copy of the WWE Championship. There's no originality to it. But I like the fact that it looks similar to the WWE Championship because it gives it a kind of gravitas and importance that this is just as important as the World Heavyweight Championship that the men fight for. So it's one of those things that if you want to make it seem like it's important, you gotta show that it's important. Title is good. Not to mention this triple threat match was awesome. I was rooting for Sasha Banks, to be honest, partially because I wanted to see how long it took for the internet to just basically turn on her like they turn on everybody else. Check out my top 10 for that if you want proof. But I was okay with the way it ended, even though at first I was kind of disappointed, but the way it was always been set up and the way that this sort of thing has happened before kind of made sense. Even though I was really enjoying the match, and I know some people would probably say, well, it's kind of a bad way in the match, but who's to say? Who's to say? But next, I gotta just talk quickly about the WWE Hall of Fame. I always enjoy seeing the highlights from the Hall of Fame, and this year it was a good class. It was a good class. And Sting announcing his retirement, it was just, I didn't watch a lot of WCW in the 90s. I watched some of it during the Monday Night Wars. So Sting didn't have that much of a connection in my life as a wrestling fan. But seeing him and I was just like, oh wow, it's one of those things. He was a big name in the 90s, and now he's retiring, and it makes me wonder, like, who's next? I asked who's going to be the next to retire. I said maybe it might be The Undertaker. Apparently it was Sting. So speaking of The Undertaker, this is a match that a lot of people were just waiting to crap all over. The two matches that people were waiting to crap all over online, they're just salivating with the chance to say, we don't do these matches, we're going to suck, where? Or actually the two of the best matches of the night, and the match they thought was going to be match of the night ended up being really weak. It's almost like they don't know a damn thing about wrestling, doesn't it? Anyways, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. It was violent, it was brutal, it was hard-hitting in all the right ways. And it was one of those things that it started off kind of slow. It definitely had a cat and mouse kind of a vibe to it. And Shane McMahon just throwing caution to the wind, doing everything he could to try and win that match. And towards the end, you saw Undertaker showing a little bit of respect towards Shane McMahon before he finished him off. But it was just one of those matches that you just watch. It was like, holy God. Especially when Shane almost kills himself in the match. You're just thinking, oh God, we're in the announcer are going to pronounce him dead like they did during the Mick Foley Undertaker match. But it was a good match. I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad they had the buffer with The Rock coming out telling the attendants and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, because you need that buffer between that match and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But at the same time, you didn't really need The Rock to give the attendance. You could just have the regular announcer. And having John Cena come out too was just one of those things that, yeah, it was nice, but you'll look back and I was like, what was the point of that? Then you got to remember that Cena was not cleared medically to compete at WrestleMania, unfortunately. So now, good to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Roman Reigns challenging Triple H. Again, really cool entrance by Triple H. He usually has cool entrances, especially for title matches. You can hear the crying, I mean the booing from the internet bitches, because you're not in it. But what's interesting is that during this match, there were quite a few moments where Roman Reigns was getting the crowd to cheer for him. He was starting to win them over. Even though the IWC High Mind said, no, you cannot have a different opinion from us. You have to boo him because we say so. He's not in it anywhere. But when you look at it, it was a really good match between the two of them, with Triple H targeting his arm and his nose that was broken in weeks prior on Raw, and trying to take out the arm for not just the Superman punch but also the spear, and also the Samoan drop, because pick up with the arms. So it was a good pace match. It was definitely had its moments of, oh God, and there was a moment I thought Stephanie McMahon's interference was going to lead one way, but man, it went to a different direction, and I was like, oh man, it was sick and it was good. And I gotta say, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon definitely know how to be villains, even if the internet idiots don't want them to be the villains, because they're not facing the internet anywhere. It was a really good match, and when you see the ending and you see how Roman Reigns actually starts to get the cheers from the crowd, even as, like I said, the high mind of the internet wrestling crybabies just try to force everybody to view their way. So, next night on Raw, Roman Reigns, it's perfect, because the crying, I mean the boos from these internet idiots, because he's not an internet darling, he, in 3 sentences and 1 smile, he gives them a gigantic fuck you. I'm here to stay, bitches. And it was really cool. Just like I took those lines as part of my intro. I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy. And the Monday night after WrestleMania, it's always the worst audience. It's always the worst, because they're not interested in the matches or what anybody's saying in the ring. It's all about how they can make themselves look good. It's like, look at me, daddy, look at me, where? Kind of a deal with that crowd. But there was a really cool Fatal 4-Way match for the #1 contendership. It was a good match between The Miz and Zack Ryder for the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with Payback. You have 2 matches basically set up for Payback now, with Zack Ryder and The Miz and AJ Styles challenging Roman Reigns. And it's kind of funny because even if Roman Reigns has a 5-star match with AJ Styles and they just put on a phenomenal, pun intended, match, the internet idiots are still going to say, well, that's because AJ Styles carried him through that match. Wah! Even when it's going to be proven to be total BS. So, if you saw their small encounter at Royal Rumble, they do have some good chemistry together, and I'm interested to see where they go with that. I think they'll have a really good match at Payback. I'm looking forward to seeing where the Roman Empire goes from here. It's his moment. He's the guy, whether the internet idiots like it or not. So, what do you think? Did you enjoy WrestleMania like I did? Were you one of the people just waiting to crap all over the matches because you believe the BS you see online everywhere on the dirt sheets and crap? Or were you just like, oh, that was cool, but I don't know if I'll watch it again? Let me know in the comments. So like I said, this is probably going to be my last wrestling video for a while. I hope so. I want to take a break from wrestling. I've got some top 10s, top 5s coming up. And until next time, later.